Thus, Paul adds, quote, until the seed would come to whom the promise had been made, end quote. In the Greek, this clause that I just read follows second immediately after, quote, it was added because of transgressions, end quote. So we've got these two clauses right back to back. The ESV has the order correct. This is why I read it from the ESV. We read, quote, why then the law? That's the first clause. Then we read, quote, it was added because of transgressions. There's the second clause. And then we had the third clause, until the offspring should come to whom the promise had been made. And the fourth clause, and it was put in place through angels by an intermediary. And we're separating the clauses basically by either the prepositions or the conjunctions. All right, so that's the verse out of the ESV. Hegg goes on to say, the Torah was given in order to reveal God's gracious manner of dealing with transgressions. By the way, the reason Hegg brings out the order of the clauses is because Hegg is fond of using the NASB, the New American Standard Bible, and that version has the clauses out of order to the chagrin of Tim Hegg. So instead, for this verse, Hegg wants to remind us that the ESV has the correct order. When we talk about the correct order, what we assume is that the way that Paul wrote them might betray some of the intended meaning behind the emphasis that Paul wanted us to have by perhaps putting clauses up front that we would read first so as to add kind of emphasis to the Greek. And again, I'm not sure exactly where Christian commentators get this notion that the order, the syntax of the Greek definitely indicates an emphasis. I've not read that myself personally, but I've heard many pastors talk about it, and Tim Hegg seems to be hinting at it here. And so my knowledge of Greek is limited, and so I apologize for not knowing that firsthand. Okay, let's keep reading Tim Hegg's commentary here. He goes on to say, the Torah was given in order to reveal God's gracious manner of dealing with transgressions, i.e. through the death of an innocent substitute. Paul therefore immediately makes his point by adding, quote, until the seed would come, end quote. Here as often, the word until, achri, in the Greek, the Hebrew corresponding to the word ad, has the primary meaning of, quote, now listen to Tim Hegg's definition here. And let's see. The Brown Driver and Griggs Gesenius Lexicon is what Tim Hegg's quoting. So, I apologize when I said I'm not sure where Tim Hegg gets that. He actually reveals his source. He says, quote, the meaning of akri in the Greek is, quote, a marker of continuous extent of time up to a point until, end quote. And he quotes from the BDAG. Yes, the BDAG, the Brown Driver and Griggs Gesenius Lexicon there. And that's footnote number 131 in my commentary. So he quotes that, and then he says, this is his final quote, Tim Hegg says, the point is that the revelation of the Torah regarding how God provides redemption in the face of transgressions has its focal point in Yeshua. Once Yeshua had come and offered himself as God's eternal sacrifice, the ultimate revelation to which the sacrifice is pointed had been given. This is Paul's consistent perspective. That is, the Torah leads to Yeshua. Compare from Romans 10:4 and the continuing context of Romans 3, end quote. And the entire quote from Tim Hegg was lifted, footnote number 132 in my commentary from Tim Hegg, A Study of Galatians at TorahResource.com, page 121.